welcome to the only strategy that has ever worked in marketing to attract revenue on demand. I want to posture this topic to you in such a way that it does not compete with or invalidate anything that you have ever learned in marketing. So I want you to hear everything that we talk about today in terms of it being something that can support your existing marketing effort, okay? I don't want you feeling like this is gonna somehow invalidate all of the stuff that you've done, everything you've built, everything you've tried. In fact, my argument for today is that this is going to empower all of the skills that you've already developed. What we're gonna cover today is gonna sit right underneath that and empower you to bring all of that to the table in a much bigger and better way. This presentation is for you if you fit into these categories. You are an entrepreneur, a coach, a consultant, and a business owner, and you're tired of ineffective marketing tactics. I'm interested in talking to those of you who've been burned by agencies who overpromise and underdeliver, visionaries who are sick of chasing clients and are ready to have clients come to them. You're interested in creating magnetism and attraction in the market as opposed to feeling like you have to push into the market and convince people to buy your individuals who know they have an offer that changes lives but struggle to get in front of the right people. This is like for the healers, the visionaries of the group who that what you do is amazing and quite frankly, you're confused about why it is that you're screaming into the void. And anyone who feels stuck in unpredictable client acquisition. So we're wanting to help create predictability in client acquisition, create predictability in your ability to magnetize new audiences and new blood into your spheres of influence such that you can speak to them. You will unlock the ability to attract high quality clients consistently without feeling sleazy and manipulative. I want to help you to learn the key underlying idea that unlocks unlimited potential in all of the existing marketing strategies that you've deployed and all of the future marketing strategies that you will invest in the future. I'm going to speak to you today about universal principles. These principles apply to human behavior, and the science of behavioral change can be deployed into all manners of marketing strategy and all manners of marketing tactic in such a way that they become exponentially more effective. You're going to master the science of behavioral change, both in yourself and in your clients. And my goal is to meet you at various levels of resolution and help you to see how this applies directly to, for example, a marketing funnel or a marketing narrative as a whole. These 5 steps are going to make this tangible because you will be able to split test with these steps. You'll be able to deploy these concepts in different ways. You'll get feedback from your audience because they'll actually engage with you, and on we will go. We are going to lay down a foundational construct that will underlie the rest of our conversation. From there, then, we're going to move through each of the steps of the science of behavioral change with these levels of awareness in mind.
Let me start with the most important principle of success in publishing, in life, or in any task in which you want to achieve goals. And of course, it is very simply hard work.
Now, these were invented by Eugene Schwartz, a direct response copywriting father. And he invented these 5 levels of awareness to help us to understand that at any given point in time, when we're thinking about a market, a group of people that we might talk to who share a common problem, that market is broken up into individuals who are at each of these levels of awareness. Meaning specifically, each of you has decided that your customer has a problem. But that group of people only exists in the mind of a person or a group of people who have decided that market shares common identifying characteristics. So if you've decided that there's a problem called people don't know how to communicate in their relationship and therefore they suffer, in defining the problem, you create the market of people who share having that problem according to your diagnosis. And it's critical that we think about it this way because then in defining the market, what we can then determine is that there are people in the world who fit that description, who are completely unaware that they have this problem. They're completely oblivious. You might look at them and decide that they have the problem, but they do not know they have the problem. That is the unaware segment of the market. There are people who wake up in the morning and they go, I don't like that every time I talk to my husband, I get in an argument. I don't like the fact that when I want something, I end up communicating it ineffectively, or worse, I don't even feel like I deserve to communicate it, or I'm afraid of their response in communicating it. And so therefore I have 2 feelings. I'm both resentful, but also guilty. And I kind of just shut down and I avoid the situation altogether. And just over time, I end up feeling more and more bitter. I might be able to determine that I have those symptoms, but I don't wake up in the morning going, I know why I have those symptoms. Or I wake up in the morning and I have back pain again for the 60th day in a row. I don't know what the cause of that back pain is. All I know is I wake up and I have back pain. And then I make that mean something about my life. My body is falling apart. I make it mean that I'm not going to be able to do the sports or the hobbies or the activities that I'm going to be able to do. And so what it turns into is I don't play tennis anymore, or I don't go golfing anymore, or my social group has begun to shrink. And I don't like any of those symptoms, but I don't know why they're happening to me. And in fact, I'm looking for a diagnosis. I'm looking for someone to tell me why my life is the way it is. I know what I don't like about it, but I'm not sure what the root cause is. That is symptom-aware audiences. The next is I wake up in the morning and I go, the reason I have back pain is because I have scoliosis. The reason I don't know how to interact in my relationship is because I have an attachment issue and I've been diagnosed as insecure or anxious. I now know my problem, but I'm unaware of the different options available to me to solve my problem. And so therefore I am now problem aware. Next. There are people in the world who have a problem and they're aware of solutions, right? Like I have back pain. There are theoretically a whole variety of solutions available to me. I could get massage therapy. I could get chiropractic adjustment. I could get surgery. Like how many of you, for example, have begun to Google solutions to your problems, and then because those websites have the Facebook pixel on it, like now Facebook knows I'm shopping for a mattress or something, and so now every other possible sleep solution appears in your Facebook newsfeed. And you then are inundated by the various retargeting infrastructure available, because the minute you throw off a signal that you are having a sleep issue because you are searching for something related to a sleep issue, Facebook now has segmented you into a audience of people who might be interested in every possible sleep solution. And now you've become extremely solution aware very, very quickly. That's the fourth level of awareness. The fifth is that there is a small segment of customers who right now are aware of you being able to solve their problem. I have experienced symptoms. I've been given a diagnosis for my problem. I'm aware of many solutions in the market, including yours. And I am now present to the fact that I could, in fact, buy your right now. Eugene Schwartz, in his book, Breakthrough Advertising, advises that the headline in particular that you would address to each of these people would be dramatically different, because they're at very different parts of their inner monologue and their inner story about their condition that you've decided that they have. For example, there are people in your world right now who know about your solution, and generally speaking, all they need is an offer to buy. They just need an offer from you right this second, and they will buy. The solution-aware people, they need a little bit of social proof, objection handling to take the action, or they're looking for clarity that your solution connects back to the source of their problem so that these things line up, and then they become willing to take action. They're lacking some form of certainty. They need just a little bit more of that from you in order to move from solution to your solution selection, and then ultimately you make them an offer and then they buy. And if we back up further to problem-aware audiences, the headline needs to meet them in their problem, not in potential solutions. It needs to meet them in their experience, the way they use their words to describe their problem based on how they've learned that they have the problem, so that they feel that you understand them. And so that's where we meet them. We go, hey, if you think you've got this problem, let's dive into that, and let's open up your experience of life, and let me demonstrate to you that not only do I understand the label, but I understand your experience of life. I understand how you feel about and describe and live this problem in your life, so that we can create matching search image. And in doing so, they feel seen, heard, felt, loved, understood, and they're more likely to progress into the next stage of their awareness journey and move towards buying your. I'm saying all of that because I want to bring your attention to two key ideas as it relates to these levels of awareness, okay? And the first one, I am going to start with a story. Years ago, maybe 10 years ago, my girlfriend, Jennifer, gets her wisdom teeth extracted. A few years go by and she has this wrist injury. And I remember she couldn't do push-ups. Eventually her arm started to hurt and she started to get tense down her neck. And I'm watching this unfold, not in days or weeks, but over years. And eventually her jaw starts to hurt. She's basically got a headache 100% of the time. We go to her doctor. Her doctor refers her to a sinus doctor. They scope her to, is it sinus? Is it ear? Is it like, what is this? Eventually we get to a point where the doctor's like, you probably have nerve pain. It's like there's this certain type of nerve pain. It's called a suicide disease because the people who have this disease, they kill themselves because this nerve pain is just going on forever. There's this moment where we're in our living room and it's the evening and I'm sitting on the floor and I'm looking at her in the living room chair, and it brings up this emotion every single time I think about it because she's in tears for like the 50th time, just sobbing quietly because her face hurts and there's nothing that I can do. And I'm looking at her being like, this can't be my life. Like this, it cannot possibly be that this bullshit diagnosis based on doctors who don't understand is going to be how this 32-year-old woman lives the rest of her life. Like, I love this woman and she's just going to be suffering. Like, how can this possibly be? She finally finds on the internet this rabbit hole where she discovers this medical condition called a cavitation. And for those of you who don't know, a cavitation is basically something that forms in the jaw when there is tissue matter left inside the jawbone, often in situations where someone has a wisdom extracted or a root canal or some kind of dental surgery. It gets sealed up, the bone heals over, and what happens is a cavity begins to grow where the infection festers and begins to basically create toxic waste in the jaw that slowly seeps through the quasi-permeable jaw bones down through your neck and through your lymphs into the rest of your body. In this case, down her arm and ultimately into her wrist or whatever. So we go to this dentist because we're like, okay, there's this new dentist that claims to be healthy, naturopathic, whatever. They'll figure this out. We go there and she tells them this and they're like, yeah, we'll check on that. And a year goes by and she's not that great at advocating for herself. And I'm sort of off in my business world doing whatever I want to do. And I'm looking at her after a year and I'm like, they've done nothing. What the is going on? She's like, you're right. I guess maybe they don't care. I'm like, you're right. They don't care. So we switch gears again. We find a dentist and we meet this dentist and we go in. And she asks directly for this particular x-ray that she has figured out that you need. And they're like, oh, okay, sure, we'll do this x-ray. We do this x-ray, and I swear to God, it was like we were in the emergency room at a hospital. The dentist guy comes out like this. Oh my God. Like, he's so excited. Jumping up and down to talk to me because he's like, Alexander, your girlfriend has cavitations in her jaw. We gotta like cut her face open on all four sides and I get to carve all of this toxic waste particulate out of your girlfriend's face. They trundle her into basically a major surgery and she comes back like a chipmunk. It was terrible, also like adorable. She couldn't talk for like 3 weeks. Eventually the bone will grow back and she will be healed. Her wrist, fine. Her shoulder, fine. Her neck muscles, fine. Her nerve condition, gone. Problem solved. What I want you guys to hear in this is the following. The most meaningful part of that experience for us was not when they performed the surgery. It was when the doctor came out and he gave us a clear articulation of her problem. I will remember that day for the rest of my life. Because in that moment when that doctor said to me, I know the problem, I could have cried. There are people who every single day of their life are scrolling Instagram and scrolling Facebook and scrolling their news feeds looking for their leader. And the fact that you don't market in such a way that you help people turn their perceived symptoms into problems and wake people up who are unaware that they even have it is one of the primary constraints in your business and your capability to make the difference that you say you want to make. And it is one of the most valuable, if not the most valuable things that you can do for a person. It is incredibly valuable to give someone a problem label for the symptoms that they are experiencing. But it requires that you step back from buy my to, for those of you who might have one of hundreds of symptoms, let me try to explain to you what your problem might be without rushing them into buying your So one part of marketing that I'm wanting to enroll you into is this. The reason that people don't move from problem to buying your solution is not because they object to your solution. A person who doesn't invest in your solution or any solution is a person who does not yet have the commitment to change. They are a person who is problem aware but uncommitted to solving their problem. And so if we shift our context on why somebody isn't buying your solution from being an idiot who should know better to because they're not the person yet ready to change, it puts the power back in our control. How do I become the marketer who helps my potential customers become the person who wants to buy every solution or any solution and then therefore my solution? If all you took away from this webinar today was that idea, you will make 10 to 100 times more money in your life because you will no longer wake up asking a terrible question, why won't my difficult customers buy my shit? You'll be asking the question, how do I help my customers become the person who buys my shit? And that is a completely different framing. And that is the challenge that we're facing with our customers. So this is the foundation. I want to talk to you briefly about marketers ruining marketing. In the transformational leader space, the marketing industry is broken, and I'm going to tell you why. The economics don't make sense. You can't hire every specialist you need. And many coaches, entrepreneurs, and consultants, and speakers, and transformational leaders are extremely risk adverse now. They're really risk adverse with spending their money because their story is, I spent the money, it didn't work, I got burned. Also, commonly, the coach or the consultant or the transformational leader who hires the industry has too much authority and they can point the effort in the wrong direction because of whatever it is that they think they want to focus at. They don't give enough leadership to the agency. The agency doesn't deliver the result for a variety of reasons. And then everybody has this story that everyone is difficult and impossible to work with. And we're in this Mexican standoff between the agencies and the consultants and the service providers and the coaches and the transformational leaders who need the help. Okay, and then nobody wants to take the risk and we're all looking at each other like, oh my God, this isn't gonna work. So then you're like, well, maybe someone will do a rev share deal with me. The problem is the only agencies capable of doing rev share are the agencies with enough profit being produced such that they can gamble some of that profit, making an investment into an entrepreneur, a coach, or a consultant, or a transformational leader because they believe in that person and they believe in that offer. But the next question is, why would they invest in you? Because the odds are that you are going to be an extremely expensive, low margin opportunity for them, and you're only going to want to share 10 or 20% of your revenue, if that. And so it's not very appealing. So you can't really even counter with, maybe let's do a rev share deal, because those people are selling information products at high margins that are not dependent on a diva transformational coach, or they're selling coffee, or they're selling e-commerce goods, or they're selling something predictable. And so none of these options really leave us in a good place. And ultimately, I think that the industry needs this reset because you've been looking for somebody to trust. And unconsciously, what I want you to see is that really for most coaches, consultants, and transformational leaders, online marketers that I have met, you're looking for a savior, and that person is you. The person you've been looking for is you. You are the one that you can trust. It's time to shift how you're approaching this idea when you wake up in the morning tomorrow. So with all of that in mind, I want to position the following idea, that this is your real problem. The real problem that I have in my coaching business as a transformational leader is that I have not yet found a science that I can repeatedly deploy to capture the attention of the person that I want to help and enroll them into a process of change so that they want to buy what I'm offering. And this skill impacts an email just as much as a sales call, just as much as an audience full of people. And that if you can do this one-on-one, you can then deploy it to higher and higher and higher quantities of people. Next, this is your opportunity to change. This is an opportunity for you to take a stand in your life and go, okay, great, I'm willing to change. Even if that change is simply, I've heard Alexander's arguments, I'm going to humor them, and I'm going to wake up tomorrow with a different context. I'm going to consider it my responsibility to develop this core skill, which is to develop the science of behavioral change into the way that I think and speak to my various audiences, these various levels of my audience, such that they decide at different levels of communication to move and progress through these levels of awareness, step by step by step, because I'm helping them to transform and become the person who is now symptom aware instead of unaware. I've become the person willing to seriously consider solutions and decide to become the person who's committed to my own transformation such that I buy that solution And therefore, when I buy it, it is now an affirmation of my transformation and my commitment to becoming a new man or a new woman or a new person. And therefore, that solution has value to me. My invitation to you is you wake up tomorrow morning with the following identities in mind. I am the one that my customers need. I am the marketer that will help them become my customer. I am the closer who will meet them on a sales call and help them have courage to move into commitment to change by solving their problem. And most importantly, I am their leader, but I am not their savior. Now, this new version of you will behave differently tomorrow. This new version of you will wake up tomorrow, and hopefully when you think about marketing, instead of saying, why me, you're gonna wake up and go, I am the one, I am the marketer, so therefore, how will I behave today? These characteristics, these behaviors come from a shift in identity. And so with that in mind, we're going to move through these steps, and I'm going to walk you through how you can deploy this science with this new identity in mind. And it starts with the problem. You define your market by defining the problem that you solve. You define your market by defining the problem your customers have. And it's a key principle in copywriting that in order to convert them, we're saying what they need to hear, not what we want to say. My customers have this problem. This problem is expressed in these ways. These are the symptoms that my customers can look for to determine if they have this problem. And it's because of this problem that I've invented this solution. The problem becomes the anchor. It's the problem that defines the market. It's the problem in your customer's words that will help them feel understood, seen, heard, validated, felt, loved, cared for. And therefore, it's your ability to communicate the problem the way your customer needs to hear it that will cause them to believe you've got their solution, and it will cause them to believe that you are their leader. And this is no longer arbitrary. We're no longer screaming into the void, you guys. Like, we're no longer having a conversation about, is marketing bullshit? Am I manipulating? Am I screwing these people over? It's like, either you trust your own innate knowing, I feel like this problem is now understood, or you don't. And if you don't, it's okay. But if you do, you're my people. And we should now continue the conversation. The same is true with your customer. Every time you get a swing and a miss, it's because you failed to meet the customer in their problem in a way they agree with you. And now the game becomes, what words do they need to hear such that when I speak to them and I look at them on the Zoom call and I look at them in the audience and I look at them across from me on my sales presentation, that the response I get is this. And if you don't get this, you're doing it wrong, okay? The signal you've been looking for is right there in front of you. It's abstract if the way you're testing is with a terrible funnel to an email list that never opens your or on Facebook posts that never like or comment. That's lower resolution. That's much harder to measure. But if you're in a conversation with somebody and they are giving you affirmative body language, you're winning. That's a signal you can trust. Once you're communicating in terms of the problem, we're gonna master this thing called the frame. And the frame is these things. In your customer's mind at any given moment, they are holding beliefs, rules, laws, and stories to be true for them. And I want you to hear this clearly. True for them at this time, not true objectively. True for them in this moment. And mostly they expose these frames with their stories. We communicate our stories on repeat. We communicate our stories all the time. Like, the stories are leaking out of us. And if you listen carefully to those stories, you can reverse engineer those stories into what that customer must believe to be true, okay? And so I want to be extremely clear about this idea. Our goal is not to react to and correct the story, which is a critical mistake that I watch marketers make every single day. They write a social media post that sounds like this. Hey, I know you think this, but your actual problem is. Or you go, hey, this very sensitive issue that I'm being uncaring about, yeah, that's true for you, right? You meet them in a way that you are invalidating what they believe to be true about their life, and they react in a negative way, and they bounce. They take their attention away. And they make this complicated. They are often also holding a belief that they don't want to be true, and they themselves are reacting to their own belief that they don't want to be true by attempting to affirm the belief that they want to be true. And so, for example, how many of you know somebody who's a bit overweight, but they're doing nothing about their health, but they talk nonstop about health stuff? They talk about exercise they don't do. They talk about healthy foods they don't eat. They talk about the solution to the problem they don't solve. But actually you believe, I'm overweight, I'm not gonna fix it, I'm not being disciplined, I'm not eating the right foods, I'm not getting up on time, I'm not doing all these things. But in order to cover up how I feel about all this that I'm not doing in response to the thing I think I should be doing, I tell the story that I believe something different. And then marketers grab that new story like low-hanging fruit and they speak into it. But the problem is the customer by definition doesn't believe it. They believe the belief that they're not willing to admit. And this adds a layer of difficulty to how you might assess a person's frames. But the point is, when you hit somebody in their accurate frame, they go, oh, I'm seen. They agree with me. And we establish trust. This is another take-home moment. Most marketers speak to the promised land. Hi, I'm Alexander, and I can solve all your marketing problems if only you learn this one missing skill. If you learn this one missing skill, you're gonna make more money, you're gonna be more successful, every social media post you're gonna publish is gonna be amazing, your emails are all gonna get opened and read, and nobody's ever gonna unsubscribe, okay? Trust me, this new Instagram recruitment strategy is gonna get you more prospects, you're gonna make $10,000 a month in the next 8 days. If you just do this one LinkedIn reach out strategy, you're gonna have a lineup of customers around the block you don't even have to do any work for. They'll just give you money for free. All this marketing horse that you hear all the time, right? Like, buy my supplement, AG1, you're gonna be cured of all diseases in the next 8 minutes. Everyone sells the promised land, promised land, promised land, promised land, promised land. They're selling the fantasy. Hey, didn't you know if you solved your problem, your life would be way better? Don't you know that? If you just solved your problem that you know you have, life would be better. Don't you know that? That's the reason you should buy my stuff. That's how 90% of people market. My thing will solve the problem you say you have that you're not solving. You should buy it. Why aren't you buying it? That's marketing. The reason that that's how most marketing is because associated with the problem that your customers have and that you yourself likely have is because associated with this problem, there is a truth that leads you into facts and feelings and stories that you tell about your life that you do not want to feel. How many of you have a problem in your life that you know if you came to my seminar room and you gave yourself permission to have Alexander push on you a little bit, that I could lead you into feelings and facts about your life that help you feel a way that you don't want to feel? There are feelings that you are avoiding. And you might even be terrified that those feelings exist. People go days, months, years, decades, and often entire lifetimes refusing to face and feel an emotion that would last seconds to minutes. But I say that, and you probably don't agree with me, because most people have the frame. I'm gonna have this terrible emotion forever. Most people's frame is, this feeling will never go away because I've mostly not been successful at having any of my feelings go away. Mostly I've had negative feelings that I've had for a long time. So my frame is, I don't wanna feel those feelings and I'm gonna do my best to avoid them. In fact, even naming them is scary. Looking at them is scary. I'd really rather keep them behind door number 2 because I don't have an effective strategy to deal with my feelings, and my feelings make me do weird that I don't like about myself. And so in order to avoid that unpredictability, I don't go into my feelings. I try to solve them by investing in solutions that help me go around my feelings. How many of you understand what I'm talking about? Even if it's not in your own life, you watch people in your life do this. I'm gonna go over them, under them, around them. I'm not going to look at them. I'm going to avoid them. I'm going to create circumstances in which I cannot even face them. I'm going to literally build a life to separate and distance myself from them. I'm going to eject people from my life who bring them up, and I'm going to find people in my life who don't challenge me so as not to have them. How many of you know what I'm talking about? So because we have this frame, and most people have this frame, we don't want to tell the truth. In fact, we're probably gaslighting ourselves into the imagination that this truth isn't even the truth. Instead of telling the truth, which is, I'm angry about this thing. It crosses my boundaries when my wife or my husband does this thing. I hate it when my customers treat me this way. I feel like a fuck up because I haven't achieved these results. I don't like feeling confused because I haven't created the life that I want. I don't like the way my body looks, and that helps me feel ashamed. I've got this pain and it causes me torment because I wonder if my body's breaking down and what death is going to be like. I'm terrified of disease in the future and not having people love me. I'm upset because my kids push my buttons and they fucking annoy me and I'm not allowed to say that. There's an endless list of things in your life that come with negative feelings, but to tell the truth about it comes conjoined with the feeling. The truth and the feeling comes together. So we don't tell the truth, and because we haven't told the truth and we haven't gone into the pit as a result, we sedate ourselves and we go, this is fine. It's fine that I don't get the sex that I want in my relationship. It's fine that I don't have the business success I want. It's fine that my employees don't do what I want. It's fine that I'm not getting up at the time I want to get up and doing the exercise I want to do. It's fine that my body feels this way. It's fine that I have this injury. It's fine that I have this anxiety. It's fine. This is all fine. And I have to say it's fine because to look at it means I wouldn't be able to cope, because it would come with these feelings that I don't want to feel that I'm secretly afraid are going to last forever because I haven't come up with a strategy to move through the feelings in such a way that I get to the other side and I can create new facts about my life and new truths that I can create and a new future that I want. And so because of all of this, I'm now stuck. And because I'm stuck, I won't go with my customers into the truth that they are having. And instead, what I have done is I have built a story about where they could be in their life if only they would fix their problem. Because if I could help enough of my customers fix their problem and help them avoid their feelings, what I would end up with is proof that I could then successfully avoid my feelings. And around the circle we go, while everyone is avoiding all their feelings, creating fake results, projecting on each other in order to create those results, all while avoiding where real transformation exists, which is inside the pit. Now, if you're so courageous that you are willing to go into the pit, which is simply by telling the truth about the facts and the feelings related to the symptoms and the problems that you are experiencing or you have experienced, what you would find in the pit is ultimately that the feelings do not last forever. You would find actually that by facing and feeling those emotions, you can discover a truth for yourself on which you can build the foundation for a future that is no longer rooted in a nightmare and is therefore no longer a fantasy. And what you would also find is the energy required for you to change, to become a new version of the person that you want to be, such that you do the different things that you want to do, you would transform. And you would then therefore be setting the example for your customers that they can transform. And furthermore, you will no longer be afraid to lead your customers into the same emotional pit necessary for them to decide to change. And this is the critical distinction that most marketers miss, which is that they fail to move through their own crucible. They've built a business not because they're through the trauma or they're through the transformation they're wanting to fix for their clients, but as a mechanism, another surreptitious mechanism to avoid the very transformation they are trying to sell their customer on. And as a result, they have not felt the pit. They have not felt the feelings, so they won't do marketing that leads people into the pit. So their customers won't feel the feelings necessary for them to change. And because they won't change, they won't give you their money. And now we're all So my name is Alexander, and I am essentially inviting you into the idea that the way to create compelling marketing messages in the future, and that the new renaissance of effective transformational marketing in the future, is by doing the very transformational work you say that you're wanting to do, that I watch every single customer who hires me avoid. The very transformation that you haven't fully faced and felt is the transformation you get to go into so that you can discover your own light at the bottom of that pit. Because God said, in the darkness, let there be light. In that darkness of your pit is the light of your truth. And in that truth is where your transformation occurs. And by moving into that truth, you genuinely get to change. And in changing, you become magnetic. And those seeing you change then become curious. And they then desire to move towards you because you are being their leader. The leader will go more deeply into the emotions, more deeply into the lived experience, more deeply into the sonder of their customer's life than their customer has been willing to go. And you will then demonstrate the courage to take them by their hand and move them into that pit such that they change and affirm that change by giving you their money. And our job as marketers is to spend far more time in the pit and far less time in the promised land so that we can engender this transformation for that customer we say we want to serve. And when you get this right, you will create all of the revenue you will ever want to have, because you will find that your customers show up and they're no longer like shopping. They're no longer feeling confused. They're compelled magnetically into your space because they can see that you're being honest. And we've just gone through a decade of dishonest marketing built on tactic and behavior, which isn't a true reflection of the person delivering the marketing messaging. And so in the transformational leadership space, the most effective marketing is transformation itself. And that transformation is no longer going to occur without the movement into the predominantly negative, scary feelings that people need to feel in order to become the person who is different. The thing that creates change is not positive outcomes, it's negative feelings. The thing that will help your customer change is being honest about their anxiety, being honest about their dissatisfaction in their relationship, being honest about their lack of sexual polarization, being honest about their failing body, being honest about their failing business, being honest about the transformational work that has felt hollow and meaningless to them, being honest about their failure to learn the that they want to learn. These are the things that will help them change. Selling hollow ideas to the person who thinks their life is fine is not the type of work you want to be doing if you're a transformational leader. These are the steps that we deploy in the macro and in the micro in order to create this change. We identify the problem, we identify the frame, we help them to admit the truth before moving them into the pit so that we can expose the crucible in front of them so that they have the opportunity to decide, I want to change. This is the science of behavioral change. Apply this to your social media posts, your emails, your webinar outlines, your VSL scripts, your landing pages, all of it. The same thing applies. These steps move people through the emotional journey necessary to commit to their own transformation. And so with all of that in mind, you now have a choice. You now know this, so you get to wake up tomorrow morning and do nothing if you'd like, but now you'll know that doing nothing is not an option, or else you'll have to beat yourself up about it. The other option is you take what you've learned here, you go back to your life, you do it alone. Your third option is to take another step forward with us, and I want to invite you to unlock clients on demand and to begin developing the only capability that has ever worked to attract those clients on demand, which is the science of behavioral change. And in this program, you're going to become crystal clear about the problem you solve, who you solve it for, and what you need to offer them. We're going to identify your prospects' frames, and we're going to practice meeting them there with your existing marketing strategies. We're also going to learn to craft messages that resonate deeply with those ideal customers by leading them into the pit. And the result is that you will build a marketing machine that sustainably and predictably produces new clients. In broad strokes, this program is being designed to help you think differently and be the marketer in your business so that you can be your client's leader, not their savior, by leading your own journey into your own pits and practicing the art of identifying frames, meeting in the frame, guiding into the pit, experiencing the emotions, telling stories that resonate deeply with those emotions, helping your customers decide to change, making offers, and more practically speaking, we bring our entire history of agency experience to bear such that when you take these skills, you can deploy it effectively in the highest leverage ways in order to attract new revenue as fast as possible. We include weekly curriculum and content drops, weekly strategy and leadership calls with me, weekly technical support calls with my team, bi-weekly copywriting feedback calls, and a dedicated circle community. I'm going to drown you in support in order to create this transformation. And if that's something that you're interested in, I want to invite you to book a call with me by using that link or that QR code that you see on your screen. So if this is something that intrigues you and you feel that the science of behavioral change and practicing these skills is the highest leverage activity in order for you to deploy your transformational coaching offer or your transformational service into the world, book it now so that we can get on the phone and talk about how this transformation can look in your life. Encapsulating these ideas and using them as the foundation for creating compelling marketing narratives and speaking to our potential customers is a skill that this program is designed to help you to develop. And so this is your opportunity to get on my calendar and get in line to join. Thank you for watching. Please book your call with me if you have not already and you're interested in talking to us about the cohort. We would love to have that conversation with you. And until I see you all again, thanks for being here. We appreciate you, and I'll see you at the next perfect time.